Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Janice Page. I'm the arts editor at the Washington Post, and this is the Middleburg Film Festival discussion of Minari. So Minari is a wonderful film. It's 2020, the year 2020, so I'm sure you're all familiar with Zoom. This is our life now. So gathered here on our grid, we have the film's writer-director, Lee Isaac Chung. He's on my bottom left there. And we have practically the entire cast here, so this is bound to be a fascinating discussion. We have Steven Yeun. He plays the dad, Jacob, somewhere here. Yoon, she plays the grandmother. We have Yeri Han, who plays the mom, Monica. We have Alan Kim, he plays David. And we have Noel Kate Cho, and she plays the daughter, Anne. So we can dive right in, right? I'm sure we got a lot of ground to cover, so we'll start. This is a film about the immigrant experience. And for me anyway, you kind of expect a typical fish out of water story when the film starts, but it's not that. It's not about outsiders or the cultural divide, or not mainly about that. I think it could be John Steinbeck or Flannery O'Connor. It's all that sort of territory. I would say it's the American experience, not the Korean American experience explicitly. So Isaac, you grew up with immigrant parents. You grew up in rural Arkansas. Can you tell us a little bit about this story and the film that you set out to make?
Yeah, really the film started on a very personal level of just wanting to tell a story about some things that I remember growing up. And, the journey that my family took when we moved to Arkansas. And I like the way that you introduced that, because that's definitely something that I had in mind, that I'd like to tell this story just from a perspective that's just very American, and one that isn't trying to explain immigrants to I don't know, the majority population or anything like that. Not trying to explain ourselves in any way, but simply just tell the story of what I remember, how I remember it, but to do it in a way that hopefully speaks to like a universal human experience.
And it's a semi-autobiographical film, right? I mean, so you did grow up on an Arkansas farm, as far as I know, and some things that you wouldn't think are real in this film actually turn out to be real. I believe that the man dragging the cross, played by the wonderful Will Patton, is a real character from, an employee of your dad's, I take it, and your grandmother did nearly burn down half the farm, I think, and I don't know what else is there. The heart murmur, the Mountain Dew addiction. Tell us what's real. And what we would be surprised to know is not real in there.
I guess I'm not good at lying. So if it seems too good to be true, then it's probably something that actually came from real life. But yeah, I enjoy, a lot of people come up and ask me, like, what were you thinking with Will Patton's character? But I really knew a person like that. And at the same time, a lot of things are based in things that I've experienced or things from my life, but we wanted everybody to take those things and run with them and make them their own. So for instance, none of the actors here really tried to emulate my family members or to try to recreate my childhood, but we at the same time wanted this film to be a creative process where we're creating something new.
That's probably better for your relationship with your family that they didn't try to do that, right?
Well, I mean, they were always nervous while I was making this film. And when Steven's on board for my dad's like, I think I'm better looking than Steven. He would say something like that.
I heard that your dad said that you'd kind of finally made it, right? Because you cast some of the people you cast in this movie.
Oh, my mom and dad, they are huge fans of Yoon Jung. I mean, when I said she is going to be in the film, first of all, they thought it's not real. They thought there's no way you're making this up. but then once they realized it's true, then they thought, oh, okay, maybe you didn't need to become a dentist. Maybe you finally, made it.
That's great. Can you tell me just a little bit more about the character that Will Patton plays, who carries the cross? Because it's so unexpected that would actually be real, because it's such a great metaphor for the working class of America, who shoulders the burdens of the world kind of right now, and how much that character kind of can represent, if you wanted to. It's beyond religion or anything like that. It could stand in for a good many things. So did you always know you wanted to put that character in there?
I think that was one of the kernels of this film, actually. I felt like Will and we kind of knew each other already. And I just had this picture of him playing this role. And that's where it started, because it's based on somebody I know. My dad had a very strong friendship with this man who worked for us on our farm. And I don't know, it was a counterintuitive sort of friendship. One that I think in our day in America, we assume that everybody's in these certain corners. But for me, growing up in the South, that wasn't necessarily the image of America that I have. There's a lot of connection where you wouldn't expect it. And that was one example of it. So when Will and we talked about this role, we talked a lot about the idea of holy fools, like the idea of someone who might be an outsider, might be taken as being a fool from many different perspectives, but somehow there's something deep and genuine about him, and something that's I don't know, he plays such an integral role in this family in helping them along.
Yu Jung, you play the coolest grandma ever, and that character Sunja really is like the bridge between two worlds. I mean, I think it's the key to the family navigating this and accepting the transition to this new life. And I wonder, was she all on the page, or did you bring things to her?
Some maybe I brought it, and then all the Isaac's direction, I think. And with my experience, I thought the actor should be the tool for the director. That's my opinion. Everybody has a different idea about their role. But to me, especially when I meet nice director, great one, I will just follow his direction. That's my part. So I follow Isaac's direction, because I never met Isaac's grandma, and all I can do was just imagine how she would be without speaking any English, with just the two children, just alone at home. How would she be? And then Isaac, first question was to Isaac, should I just imitate your grandma or just to be myself, or I will just make it my own? And he said, I can make it my own in imagination. So we agree with that. Then later on, I followed Isaac's direction. That's all Isaac's job.
Isaac, that must make you very happy, because she is a legend in South Korean cinema. So it's got to feel good to hear those words.
I don't want to be called the legend. The legend means old, so I'm not
okay.
a legend. I'm just little old actress.
I can't call you an old actress. I will call you an actress, and I retract legend. Isaac, I don't know if you want to say anything to that, but.
Oh, it was just an honor to work with her, and there's so much. In a way, I feel she's being humble, because she brought so much that wasn't there on the page to this performance, and especially the humor of it. There was something that she made it so alive. So yeah, I'm just forever grateful.
Yu Jung, you've done more than 80 films, I think, right? So
I didn't count.
I don't, you can never believe Wikipedia or IMDb, but that's what it says. But what made you want to sign on for this one? Besides Isaac, or maybe that was the whole thing, but what about it?
Good question. I read the script first time with English. My English is not perfect, but in the middle of, I called my friends who handled that script and called her, is it real story? Because it was very touching and it was very moving and it feels like it's very realistic. So I called her and then, is it his real story? And she said, yes, it is. So I will do it.
So that mattered to you a lot.
Yes. I mean, it has to move me first. When I read the script, I feel like I can do something. And then somebody has a real heart and genuine heart, and you can reach somebody's feelings. So it moved me. That's what I decided to do it.
Yeah.
Am I saying right? Hey, Sharon Cho, am I saying right? If I made mistake, just correct me.
Steven, a lot of people know you from The Walking Dead and the wonderful film Burning. It's just a little bit different than The Walking Dead.
A little bit. A little bit. Just a little bit.
So I have a rather specific question for you.
Sure.
Beyond the, actually, let me first ask you what, this is different from that and other things you've done. And I know you choose every project for one reason or another, but what specifically about this one, made you want to be a part of it?
I think it's kind of what Yun Senjang said, which is Yun Yeo-jung said, is it felt real and it felt honest and it felt very truthful. And so I think on an actor level, you're always looking for that. And then on a larger level, maybe from the perspective of like an Asian American perspective, I think, there are versions of our story that are steeped in the search for our identity. And those are well and good, and those are necessary and beautiful in their own right. But in this instance, I read such a human portrayal of us, and that is what I gravitated towards. And Isaac really deeply captured something that was human, and I knew that if we approached it the way that he had written it, it would kind of just speak to everybody, and that was really appealing to me.
Yeah. Okay, so
can I say something? That beautiful part of this film was that when Alan went to church, and then the Caucasian guy, should I say Caucasian? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that little boy said, why your face is so flat? Usually, our people we started like a discrimination because of they saying like that. But he was very innocent at that age. They don't know. So that part is very beautiful. Sharon Cho, would you help me? 그 인종차별 그런 것, because we all seen a lot of different films about discrimination, and they suffered because of the majority people, the immigrant people got suffered because of the Caucasian. That this film is nothing like that. That's what the beauty about this film. We all live together, like just.
If I could jump off her point, I feel like, it was so courageous and forthright in the existence of these people that it didn't need suffering or oppression to justify them, that they could just be and they could exist, and that's enough. And in that way, it allows people to access them on a human level, as a father or as a mother or as a grandmother or as a child. You're accessing them as people, and that's really the beautiful part of this thing, is we didn't juxtapose them to anything. We just said that these people are, and they're worthy of their own story.
Yeah,
good.
I completely understand, and that's kind of what I meant when I said it's less of a Korean American film than an American film. There were many times in this film where I just forgot I mean, it wasn't, it's certainly
amazing.
Yeah. So my specific question is maybe a little odd, but your character's profession, actually both your and your wife's profession in the movie is chicken sexing.
Mm-hmm.
And I apologize that I'm always looking for metaphors, but I couldn't imagine a better one. That, you know, his profession is about discarding the males who are not worth anything in the food chain of America. And it's about the very thing I think he's afraid of, which is being marginalized and never being able to realize any of his dreams. So, you know, just tell me about the film and the parts of this film that are so detailed and so rich that you could grab hold of for your character.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many themes about, in some ways, the human struggle, especially the family struggle, or even the middle class struggle. You have things like A Doll's House. You know, Ibsen has been writing about things like this. Faulkner has been writing about things like this. It transcends culture, which is, what does it mean for a man to submit to society and work and live within society, but also have something deeply human, which is the connection of his family at home? And what do you lose, and what shift in perspective does that create? And I think the beautiful thing that Isaac really deeply captured, and I was lucky enough to play with Yeri, she was so brilliant, an acting partner with, was what tension exists in the communication between a husband and a wife, where their realities are trying to be justified and understood by each other, but they're almost living completely different worlds. And so I loved exploring that tension, and I loved exploring the empathy that you gain from understanding, or from trials and tribulations between them. And so yeah, that was really fascinating. I mean, it doesn't, as I was making this thing, you know, I'm a young father of two kids, and so it's no different at my house sometimes. You know, I'm trying to be a working actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of Yeri, your character and your work to portray that character is one of those kinds of things it's so undervalued because, or can be. It would be so easy to make her a stock character, the long-suffering wife. We've seen it in countless movies. But you find a lot of ways to soften her non-verbally. And so tell me about that. Tell me about playing her and what you found in her, and how you wanted to make her more multi-dimensional. Oops, I think you're still muted. You're still muted. There we go.
처음에 아이작과 미팅을 하고 시나리오를 봤을 때 모니카라는 인물이 사실 그렇게 시나리오 자체에서 드러나지는 않았어요.
So when I first met with Isaac and read the script, honestly, the character of Monica wasn't the most prominent within the script.
그래서 감독님과 더 많은 이야기를 나눠야 되겠다라는 생각을 했고, 그리고 무엇보다 내가 가장 잘 알고 있는 나의 엄마, 뭐 이모, 할머니의 모습이 가장 많이 떠올랐고, 그들이 이 시대를 어떻게 살아가고 이겨냈는지에 대해서 더 많이 고민을 했던 것 같아요.
So I thought it very important to share a lot of conversations with Isaac, and I really thought a lot about the women in my life that I know, my mother, my aunt, my grandmother, and I thought about how they would live through this era and how they would overcome the struggles that they could have faced.
그래서 아이작이 왜 모니카를 한국 배우로 쓰려고 하는지에 대해서 더 많이 생각을 했던 것 같아요.
So I really thought about why Isaac wanted a Korean actress to play the role of Monica.
그래서 어쩌면 내가 가장 잘할 수도 있겠다라는 생각이 들었어요.
So it occurred to me that maybe I am the best person for this role.
그리고 스티븐과 연기를 하면서 오히려 정확하지 않았던 것들이 더 분명해졌던 것 같아요.
And while acting with Steven, I think some of the things that weren't so exact in the script became more defined.
그리고 그와 느꼈던 어떤 감정적인 교류들이 되게 좋았고,
And I really valued the emotional connections that I felt with Steven.
그리고 제가 뭘 하든 아이작이 굉장히 많이 믿어주면서 약간 한국에선 판을 깔아주면은 마음대로 놀라고 하는데 약간 그런 기분이었어요.
And it felt like Isaac really trusted me with everything. And in Korea, we say that, you set up the playing field and he really let us do whatever we want on that field.
오늘 보니까 제 남편이 너무 잘생겼네요.
It occurs to me that today my husband is very handsome.
I have to say that the scene where you are first taken to the house, which is really a trailer on wheels, and this is the 1980s after all, and it's filled with fake wood paneling and all the things. The expressions on your face really are universal for what a wife might give to her husband when she thought something else was going to happen.
Could you repeat the last part of that question?
Yeah, I mean, I never really got to a question, but I'm just wondering how when she read that scene and had to act it out, she just acts like every wife would who's dealing with a husband who has big dreams and she's got to live in them.
진짜 충격적이긴 했어요.
It was really shocking at first.
그렇게 넓은 공간, 일단 그렇게 넓은 땅을 본 게 처음이었고, 그 넓은 벌판을 본 게 처음이었고, 거기에 정말 아무것도 없이 컨테이너만 딱 있는데, 굉장히 쇼킹했어요.
First of all, it was my first time just seeing such a vast empty field, and to see this trailer park just standing in the middle of nowhere, that in itself was really shocking.
실제로도 모든 배우들과 스태프들이 더위랑 싸우냐고 고생했어요.
In reality, all the crew members and actors really struggled fighting through the heat.
Yeah, that set must have been interesting. Okay, Alan, it's this question is for you. So, can you unmute so there we go. So I want you to be honest. When you read the script and you saw the part in there where your character pees into a cup and feeds it to his grandmother, what did you think?
I mean, like, if you pee in a cup and give it to someone, I mean, like, it's disgusting. But like, in reality, I thought it was super disgusting. But at the same time, I thought it was super funny because like, it's just like one silly little prank, but like, it's also super mean at the same time.
It is super funny. You're totally right. Was it fun to play, David?
Yeah, it was really fun to play David, although it was super hot though.
I take it, Isaac, that you filmed during the summer in Arkansas, is that right?
It was in Tulsa, yeah, it was the summer.
Oh, it was Oklahoma, right.
Yeah, there was a heat wave going on. I think one day the heat index was up to 116 degrees, and we're all in that tight can, that trailer home, which is not well insulated at all.
Conditioning was broke down. This is a couple of days. So that was a terrible moment. I remember, as she mentioned, I already forgot about all that miserable things, but now I remember. Don't bring the memory back to me, please.
It's all part of the glamour of making movies, right?
It wasn't glamorous at all.
Okay, I have a question for Noel, and then actually both Noel and Alan after that. Noel, you have I think you have a little brother, right? Am I right?
Yep, that's right.
So you know something about being a big sister. So did you use that, what you knew when you were playing your character in this?
My brother, he actually came to Tulsa with me, my
Oops. A little bit frozen.
mom, my aunt, and my brother. And he was acting the same inside the tent. I was like really hot and really angry, so I had to put it all on Alan, or at least on the acting.
Heat is becoming a theme of this Zoom. So let me just ask you one more question about her character, because David, a lot of the movie is really kind of from his point of view, right? So the big sister is an important part of this, but really doesn't get much of the glamour. So like, what was your relationship with Alan during this? Did you guys become friends?
We became like actual brothers and sisters when we were making this. He would actually call me sister and I would call him brother in Korean.
Oh, wow. That's really sweet. Okay, so my question for both of you is, I think it was both of your first time on a movie set, right? I think it's both of your first movie, right? So
Yes.
what did you think of making movies? And especially, what did you think when you had, I already know about the heat, but this trailer on wheels, what did you think when you saw that? Did you think it was cool or did you think it was weird?
Well,
You go first, Alan.
Probably a trailer with a house on wheels. It doesn't feel weird to me at all because, like, I've seen trailers before, so
Very honest.
I don't get anything weird about it. It's just a house on wheels.
That's good.
A true actor.
Yeah.
True actor.
Right.
There you go, boy.
Gonna go far. How about you, Noel? Anything that you noticed that you want to say about working on a movie set that you liked or didn't like?
I did not know that it was that hot and humid there. I needed a weather forecast.
No more films in Oklahoma in the summer, it sounds like. Isaac, you are undoubtedly aware of the famous W.C. Fields quote of, never work with children or animals. You obviously violated that rule. Was there anything surprising about having younger cast members on the set?
I guess the surprise is that these two, and they disprove that whole idea. So yeah, I got to say that both of them were incredible at preparing for this role and to learn how to do what they needed to do each day. And then also their parents were incredible at supporting and being behind the scenes and helping us make this film. So it was a real family venture, this whole thing. But yeah, they were true pros.
So this question is really so next question is really anybody who wants to answer. This film says a lot about rural America, and rural America is very important always, but very much in the spotlight right now, I think, with the divide that exists in America. And what I couldn't help but notice is that everyone in this film is treated with respect. There are no racist rubes and religion isn't mocked. You expect that kind of thing to happen in one of these films. Honestly, it would be disappointing, but if it had happened, but it would nonetheless not be surprising. So I just, there are no like reductive figures, cardboard archetypes, and they're all everyone in it is kind of a relatable person. So how did you feel? Did you notice that making it? Was it, how does it feel to be a part of that kind of a movie?
Me, like I said before, discrimination started like we already know the really prejudice feelings, but when I first read that script, and then Alan's friend said, "Why your face is so flat?" And he didn't take as that's racist or the discrimination. I think that's the part is the very beautiful part of this movie. And then, like we say, your country is a United Nation, United States in America. That means we should all united together. So I hope I was living in state for a while, and then at the time I was 27 or something. If somebody said to one of my friends said, "Do you eat rice all the time?" So I already took as discrimination. I was so full of complex, not same as American. So I learned from him, Alan's, from Isaac's point of view. So it was very honored to be the part of this film, and great. And that's a nice word. That let me know what is a nice word. Just being a part of this film. So what is that? Is that a nice word? Some nice word? Exaggerating. Exaggerating. So we are so proud of this film because we suffered with the heat, but because we cannot blame the weather. So, well, we enjoyed that because finally we even have an interview with you. So it turned out to be very great. So we are very happy. It's my opinion. Am I saying right, Sharon? Sharon, help me.
Perfect.
You need no help.
I think everything Yoon 선생님 said is spot on. I think again, always, but maybe more so in these times, we forget to accept all of our intrinsic humanities, and the way that we communicate sometimes becomes very literal and like fractured, and it becomes an explanation, or it becomes a lesson, or it becomes something to teach. And while those things can be valid and useful at times, I think these days I'm really interested in being part of a connection. I'm really interested in like Yoon 선생님 said, like being united and feeling the thing that we all feel, which is like the difficulty and the beauty of existence on a human level. And so for us to get to tell a story that was so deeply rooted in the truth of our experience, it actually then allows access for everybody. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about this project. So yeah, I feel the same way.
It's really amazing, the church scene with the kids, where you would expect one of the kids to say something, really harsh or frankly racist, but in fact it's so much more honest and easily believable because the kid just says something that is in kid tones, really sort of innocent. It's just a question, and it's I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, but that seems like it happens far more often than the other.
I think that's right. Yeah. I think it's also to say that it's not to ignore that real racism doesn't happen. Real racism absolutely does happen, but also when we're telling a story about this family, we're not considering us against anyone else. We don't come home and ruminate on who we are against the backdrop of white America. We just say, I'm here as a human being and I need to put food on the table, or I have to do homework, or I have to support this. And we were telling the truth of our view of reality. And I think there is oppression, but it's not to say that we're ignoring it. It's to say that when we're at home, we're not thinking about it. It doesn't consume us like that.
And that grandma doesn't speak a word of English, but she doesn't have any complex. At the time while I was in the States, I really had a big complex and cannot say anything I want to say in English. But the grandma doesn't have any complex at all. She just say Korean or whatever. What? She's free. So that was very nice.
that actually brings up one other thing, which, Isaac, there's a decision made to have the dialogue at home in Korean, and it feels like that's, again, more honest, more what would happen, or some hybrid of that. But that must have not, I don't know, but I would imagine that was the easiest sell for the studio, or for making a movie, to say you're going the subtitle route. So tell me about that.
Yeah, on the one hand, it makes it hard because it shrinks down the number of actors who can actually pull this off. So that was a miracle to me, that not only did we find the actors, but just the level of their performance and abilities. And also this film was produced by Plan B and Christina Oh, and she's Korean American, and she really fought for us as well to say that we want to find a home for this project in which it's very clear that we're going to keep this the way that it's written, very natural, with Korean being spoken at home the way that it is in America. Like, this is a portrait of an American family. It truly is. It's not a political statement. We're just trying to present something very real and authentic. And lucky for us, A24 really got behind that, and yeah, I feel fortunate for that. So I think it adds a unique texture to this whole thing, and so glad that we were able to do it. We had this all-star also named Stephanie. I want to shout out to her, who behind the scenes was our translator, and making sure that the Korean is spoken well. My Korean is not that great. So we had this person who was our special sauce behind the scenes.
That was actually going to be my next question. Was everyone in the cast already fluent, or did you have to have dialect coaches or anything like that? But it sounds like you did.
I probably needed help.
Steven, you had some help from Stephanie.
Yeah, yes, thank God for Stephanie. Yeah.
Steven had it hard because he had to also deliver a Korean accent when he's speaking English, and then he also the accent he does in Korean. So yeah, it was quite a thing that he did.
Acting, right?
Yeah.
So the film also, the other thing that struck me, besides the fact that it's so balanced and respectful of rural America, it also understands and tries to tell the story of the plight of farmers. It's set in the 1980s, when that was, a really significant thing, but it's no less so now. One of my favorite books growing up was The Good Earth, and Pearl Buck's book just captivated me, partly because of the way it portrayed the power of the land and how much it had an influence over the fate of humans. So Isaac, maybe you can speak to, or anyone could speak to, how the farming in this movie is handled. How, because it is, the title of the film is an actual crop, or Minari, which is a
so I mean, to give you a little bit of background, my dad grew up on a farm in Korea, and all kinds of things happened through the years in Korean history in which his family lost a lot of that land. And so he kind of grew up with this idea of wanting to reclaim land, wanting to have land again. And when he would watch Korean films as a young man, when he'd watch American films, he gravitated towards these wild Western the films where people are trying to make it in the frontier, things like Big Country and Grapes of Wrath, East of Eden. There was just something about America within these films that he responded to. And when he got to America, I witnessed the other side of that, him actually trying to put that into practice. And farming is tough work. We started the farm right when the American farm crisis was really at its peak. And you just see all the troubles that farmers are going through at that time. And it kind of eliminates this racial barrier as well. Like I felt more like a farming family at that time. You know, you find solidarity with other kids talking about how your crops are doing or things like that. So that was something that I wanted to get right with this film as well. I know hardcore farmers who see this film, they'll say, you know, that's a weird thing, but that's all for fiction, guys. I really wanted to try to portray it in a real way, but it was really important to me. I love all those shots where we see the tractor digging into the dirt and all those things. I mean, it was a dream come true to do all those types of things.
It's beautifully filmed.
Thank you.
Lachlan Milne is right. Your director of photography.
That's right. Yeah.
So shout out to
yeah,
him.
Lockie did an incredible job. He would also say that it was very hot, and he did a great job.
Too bad we don't have him here because there aren't enough people saying it was very hot. Time is short here. I'm already running out of time, and so maybe I want to end on asking each of you what, you know, the viewers will take what they want to away from this film, right? But you will all go on to make more films, and I'm wondering what you'll take away from this film and this experience. So I'll start with Alan and Noel about, you know, do you have a memory or anything that you will, you know, when you look back on making this film, you'll probably remember besides the heat? Alan, you want to go first?
Well, I guess the best memory in Minari was probably the part where I like peed on the bed and then hid the underwear under the bed. So that's what I remembered the most, and I most liked. It's like, I usually, like, if I would do that, I don't know what I would do if I did that.
You got paid to do that, Alan.
I never had that experience. Never.
It's a great country. How about you, Noel? What is your favorite memory of making this film?
I think it was the swing scene. I think I had a lot of fun, but like behind the scenes, even though Alan was, I think, shown on the swing, me and Alan would fight over who was going to do the swing first.
Like a real family. Yeri.
first.
Yeri,
시간이 지나도 되게 많이 모든 그 공간들이나 뭐 같이 지냈던 기억들이 많이 남고.
I think for a long time, I'll remember all the spaces that we inhabited during the shoot and all the people we were with.
촬영이 끝나고 나서는 내가 정말 많은 사람들한테 많은 사랑을 받았구나라는 생각이 들었고, 조금 신기한 경험이었어요. 다른 촬영장보다 너무 우리가 사랑하고 있고 지금 이 순간을 되게 아끼고 있다라는 느낌을 가장 많이 준 그런 현장이었어요.
So after the shoot, I really felt so much love from everyone. And I think compared to other productions that I've been a part of, this one was really different and surprising. I just felt so much love amongst everyone. And I really felt that everyone cherished the moments that we shared together.
그래서 사실 함께했던 모든 사람들이 다 아름다웠기 때문에 이 영화가 정말 아름답게 나올 거라고 믿었고, 그리고
그랬어.
And because everyone that worked on this film is beautiful, I really believed and knew that this film would come out beautifully.
그래서 지금 상당히 저는 행복하고 이 모든 자리를 마련해준 아이작에게 정말 감사하다고 얘기하고 싶어요.
And so at this moment, I'm so happy, and I would love to thank Isaac for making all of this possible.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Steven?
Worshipful, Isaac.
Yeah, I think kind of the same. I'm so grateful for having been part of something that I feel like we all collectively really lived out. You dream of moments like this, at least for me as an actor, where you can feel something tangibly real. And beyond that, I think what was such a blessing was it was understanding. That was the thing that I took away. It was understanding an entire generation, a generation that personally for me, I wasn't able to access like this. And to be able to see, you know, my father, you know, my mother, my grandmother, and then subsequently also to be able to play out a marriage was so deeply affecting, because I got to see and really empathize with the other side, and that, you know, that's like life knowledge. So I'm happy for that.
Sure. Yeun?
Oh, I'm very opposite of them. Me, just a very lived long time. So when I finish the project, just I can now do the compartmentalizing, and what is done is done. But I was so surprised when we had a big applause from Sundance. I didn't expect that much attention from them. Everybody always dream about when we were doing filming, and then it will come out greatly. We will become a real big success. But I experienced, and then I know the reality is not like that anymore. So I didn't expect anything. I just was so glad to get out of the Oklahoma. I just, I'm finished about a week before them. So I said, oh, I'm going Vegas. Cool area and air conditioning. And then we got invited by Sundance, and then I saw the real people who was watching our film. They were really impressed, and they gave us a big applause. That was shocking to me. I didn't expect that the reaction that much. So you never know. The life is full of surprise. But I'm grateful that I met Isaac. He was a very good director, thoughtful and calm. How should I say? I wish I have a son like that. My son would be like Isaac. So, but well, after all, we are all worshiping Isaac. Isaac, okay, you are the.
Hey, Isaac, last word.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. That's so kind. For me, you know, Minari felt impossible to make. I think that was the thing. It felt so impossible. The odds were against us with the number of shooting days we had, with just what we were trying to pull off. And every day there were just little things happening that seemed like it's going to wreck us. But everybody believed in this project in a way that went beyond just doing something for the work or for a career or anything like that. There was a real deep belief in making this film. And for one, I'm so honored because I felt like they're doing that for my story. But really, I was honored because they made that story their own. Like this story became their own story. And for that, I mean, I'm just forever grateful. I'm always going to remember that.
That's great. You mentioned Sundance, and I know it was no less than a bona fide hit at Sundance. I wish that you were able to hear all the applause that this film would be likely to get if we were not all, or most of us, seeing things in our homes. But I congratulate all of you. It's a wonderful film. I urge everyone to see it who hasn't already. And thank you for making it on behalf of all of us. And thanks for joining the Zoom. It was a really, really fun discussion. hope you had a good time. And again, congrats.
Thank you so much. And we want to thank the
much.
festival as well for hosting this film. It's just a really big honor. And thank you to the audience.